my slam time. Gonna bust up your behind. This is my slam time. Gonna mess up your whole mind. This is my slam time. Gonna bust up your behind. This is my slam time. Gonna mess up your whole mind.
Welcome to Work the Left Side. I hyper hyped to announce tonight's guest. I am talking to Hayden and Becca, aka Fight Factory. How are you both doing?
Doing really well, thank you.
Yeah, good, thanks.
Sweet. Yeah, good. Obviously, straight off the bat, thanks for sitting down and talking to me. It's always cool when I get a chance to sort of talk to promoters, people who run the actual business, not just the people in the ring, because I can't even imagine, just the actual, all the hard work and just brain melting moments that you guys must go through just trying to organize a show.
For me, it's really easy. I turn up if there's football on. I turn up after the football. She's done everything. Like I'm not the promoter at all. It's
there we go.
So
I'm so glad you said that.
yeah, I know, because I know a lot of people who watch. They work our shows as well. So there's nobody lying, is there?
Yeah, exactly.
So Becca, you're the brains behind it all, then, yeah?
Apparently so. Yeah, and and it is stressful, massively stressful. But I have a love-hate relationship with wrestling. So majority of the time I love it. A lot of the time I hate it, but it's okay.
As I was saying before, though, you've been around since like 2013. Obviously, I kind of pull a lot of my information from Cage Match. So if any of the dates are wrong, I apologise. I'm just kind of going from what I've read. But yeah, it sort of says, 2013 was kind of like the starting point. So as I said off camera, you're obviously doing something right. For any promotion to be around for 11 years is, and just the amount of talent you've got on the shows, the names that are associated with Fight Factory. I'd like to say it's more love than hate. You're obviously doing something right, so it's coming from a place of love, I would say.
It is, to be fair. I mean, we originally started the training school back in 2012, like the beginning of 2012, and it wasn't until 2013 when we planned our first Bodyslams cancel that we did our first main event.
We never started it. Someone else started it all, and just one thing after another accidentally fell into place. It was never a goal to run shows or training or nothing, but it was just, like I say, one thing after another, kind of pieces of a puzzle started falling into place, and it was either sink or swim. And I don't sometimes question whether we're sinking or swimming, but
you must be doing all right. Like I sort of said, the talent you guys have. Just the school itself, I was going to ask about that because obviously, as I said on Cage Match, it states 2013 as the start, but the first show on the list isn't until 2017. So
that's
it took you a couple of years to kind of get it rolling in that sense.
I don't think there's a lot about us on Cage Match from what I'm told. I'm not very good with technology and websites and stuff like that, so I don't know. But I don't think there's that much about us online anywhere. I don't know. I don't follow that sort of stuff. Just because I can't.
No, we were running regular events like from 2013 until now. So
the brand had started running alongside another promotion before that, but we kind of took it over with what was going on with my mum. So the idea was just to run one show under the training school banner, which was under somebody else's promotion, again, which he originally started. And it was just so my mum could actually make an event when she was poorly. So we've told the story a few times, but if you don't know, she was fighting cancer, and it was like, okay, so she'd seen it on DVD, she'd seen it on the internet, but she'd never physically been to an event due to either chemo or being on holiday or whatever kind of got in the way. So we said, right, we'll run one show and we'll aim for a couple of hundred people to come along, even if it's just 100 people, raise some money for people who were looking after her. So it was either the hospice or another local charity that were helping with trying to get some trials. So we booked the show for the October, and in the June she died. So it was like, right, okay, that morning after she died, it was like, right, let's make this as big as we can and try and raise as much as we can. So rather than going straight into, oh, she's died, let's sort out funeral arrangements, we kind of left that to her husband and went, like, let's make it count and make the show mean something a bit more than originally planned. So that's kind of where it all started from there. The first Bodyslams to cancel, and then one accident after another.
No goals.
I mean, obviously, it's a great cause. You know, it's a great show. But yeah, you know, it stems, you know, from a genuine, heartfelt kind of gesture moment, and that's kind of, you know, carried on. Because obviously, I had Kaz on recently, Kaz Crash, and he was sort of saying, you know, when he got asked to do it, he recently lost somebody, you know, to cancer, and he was like, yeah, it's like, of course, I'll be there. You know, I'll help raise money. It's just things like that. You know, you see it with like One More Round, everybody kind of coming together. Pursuit did one recently for Children's Hospital. That's one of the great things about wrestling for me, is when you need that community, you kind of know it's there.
Yeah,
it's a really lucky position to be in a lot of ways, because this may upset some other wrestlers out there, but fuck them in the nicest way. People want to pay to watch us play fight, essentially. You know, yes, there's a serious side to it. We've all got to trust each other and we've got our lives in the line and whatever, and in certain moves. But if the public want to pay to be entertained like that, then we can always give something back. You know, whether that's charity work, whether that's supporting sick kids, whatever it is. Even just being on a show, you're in that position where you don't know what the audience is going through, and if they're going through some stuff, we're in the position for 2 hours where we can make them forget about that stuff. So it's kind of how we started this and how we continue to do it. It's something where we always have to think, you know, that 2 hours is someone's get out of jail, it's someone's peace of mind, it's escapism. So, you know, the charity stuff, the mindset behind it will always be the same, I think.
Yeah, I fully agree. You know, speaking obviously from being on, you know, this side of the curtain as a fan, yeah, you know, you go to a show, you just invested in it for 2 or 3 hours, and then you walk away with a smile on your face, hopefully, and, you know, job done kind of thing. So obviously my local promotion, you know, True Grit. I think I've seen you at a few True Grit shows.
Yeah, so we've done 2 ring highs for them. In fact, Hayden was at the last one, and I then joined him later on. I trusted him to go out and do a ring hire because I was otherwise engaged in the afternoon. So I was like, but I will follow you up just to make sure everything's going okay. So yeah, it's a really good promotion, to be fair. I really enjoy their shows. There's always like a lot of variety, which I like. So yeah. And the guys are really welcoming as well. So good.
Yeah, it's Jason, and I think, you know, there'll be a bit of a exchange of talent as well. Like I know Jack, you know, Maxwell is on the next show, and obviously, you know Jack well. That's what I would say as well. Obviously, yeah, you know, I could start picking up True Grit. Like I said, the only reason I mentioned them is because I know I've seen you there. I've seen the pink hair. That's what I kind of like. Oh, there we go. Yep, there's Becca. But it's just, yeah, I think they're really good at sort of just, like, say, the distraction. You know, they kind of just let you just focus on one thing for 2 or 3 hours, as you guys do, kind of thing. It's just the reason, the reason I mentioned them is a lot of the compliments I hear towards them, I hear for you guys as well. You know, whenever I talk to somebody who has worked Fight Factory, you two are just at like the top of their favorite people's list, kind of thing. You know, like I said, I had Kaz on. But this is what I'm going to give, sort of, you know, hype you two up. Hopefully, you know, compliments don't make you feel uncomfortable, because it's going to get uncomfortable for a minute. So I apologise. But yeah, Kaz was obviously singing your praises. I've had Rogan on. He was Jack Maxwell, you know, Hardman Dan, and probably a few other people, you know, that have been through your doors. So yeah, that's the reputation Fight Factory has from people that I speak to now. You're a place where people want to come and work.
And that that's nice to hear. I think because we have been around for so long, and there's as you're aware, there's so much that goes on in the wrestling industry. To be one of those promotions that people still want to work for, where there's no sort of like bitchy atmosphere or anything like that, and we have our genuine ethos, that is something that we really strive for. And I try and keep my locker room as positive as possible, and I do that by having some really good locker room leaders. I love having Jack Maxwell over. I love having Reece Rogan over. They are, really genuine guys. Dion, Hardman Dan, it just makes me laugh on a regular basis with some of the stuff he comes out with. I was fortunate enough actually to spend some of the summer with him on the camp shows, and he just, first of all, I'm banging my head off a brick wall. Some of the stupid stuff he does, but to see how he's developed from when he was first on one of our shows a couple of years ago to now, it's just immense. It's like
Absolutely
night and day.
killing Hardman Dan here because he's the most lovable guy.
He is, but he is like, it's night and day how he is now. But also his character and how that's developed, and how he's like enveloped himself within Yorkshire stuff. That is something that is really good to see. Really good to see. So.
I say, yeah, I mean, you guys, well, all three of them are kind of running roughshod at Fight Factory, the Yorkshire Tough kind of thing. Reece Rogan and Dan. But we'll rewind, because obviously I want to focus on you two as well. You mentioned earlier about just like a series of events just falling into place, things happening. Normally when I have talent on, the generic question is, so, why did you start wrestling? What was what made you start training in the first place? Blah, blah, blah. With you two, it's not quite the same in that sense. Obviously, it was with you, Hayden. I know, you work kind of thing. But yeah, what kind of got you started just in the wrestling business in general?
So I was training at a couple of places and working at a few places. And there was a bit of a fallout. And you look back at it and it's kind of unnecessary childish bullshit. But the beauty of hindsight, right? So the promoter who was running Lincoln at the time asked if he opened a training school, would I help with basics of the new guys? So I was like, well, I'm in no position to do it, but if it means I'm getting ring time, absolutely. So it was kind of a done deal as far as I was concerned. So then the next question was, well, do you know anywhere we could rent from? Like, yeah, well, I've got a friend who's got a kickboxing gym, the Lincoln Fight Factory. So I approached Sean, and Sean's one of the nicest guys in the city. He gave us space a couple of times a week. And we were allowed to use the boxing ring, which, as a lot of people know, is very different to a wrestling ring. And the promoter and myself would have these training sessions, but the promoter didn't often turn up that much. And when he did, it was to get the money and leave, and again, sink or swim. So I was really in no position. So I reached out to a couple of friends. Look, can you come and help out? And the money that was coming in before he'd come and take it, we'd pay them what they wanted to come and do some sessions. And I'd always try and learn as much as I could. So at this point in time, I really look at people like Dale Preston, who would come down probably once every other month, go for everything with the guys. I'd worked with him really regularly at different shows. And it just helped me develop a bit of confidence into, okay, can I keep this going? And things just kept happening where Becca turned around and said, look, I bet there's no insurance. I bet there's no this, no that, no the other. And if anybody gets hurt, I'm liable. And these are the sort of things I don't think about. Like I just take things at value. So she came in, he came to pick up the money and said, right, this is the last time it's happening. And it was kind of, what's going on? Like, I don't understand what's going on here. I thought everything was cool. So she was like, look, you've been taken for a bit of a flat here, so this is what's going to happen. Oh shit, yeah, now I can see it. So, but at this point we had like 20, 25 people come in regularly. I can't talk England. So it was like, right, okay, we could just close it all up and whatever. But now there's we've got some loyalty to these people. you know, they've invested some money into our time.
Yeah.
So we need to give something back. So she went away, did everything that made it legal and proper and safe, and you know,
A health
even
and
at this
safety
point,
risk assessment. I did a safeguarding thing. You name it, I did it, and I got some insurance. Just
You did
went,
all the
right.
boring stuff. You did
Yeah,
all the
I
boring
did.
stuff, yeah.
Exactly.
As far as it was supposed to, I just wanted ring time and to be wrestling as much as I could. And she was like, "No, it needs to be done properly." So it kind of happened, and it was a case of speaking to a lot of friends in the business to try and give the right advice to her, because I'm an idiot. Like I can't do any of that sort of stuff. So all of the right things were put in place, and then it was a case of, right, find some people who've got creative minds, because she don't know wrestling. So find these people with creative minds to write the stories, and then I'll turn up and say, right, okay, from my perspective as trying to learn to be a coach, these people are doing all right. They deserve an opportunity to get people who can help them progress. And it was, yeah, it just kind of thing after thing fell into place.
My favourite part was telling the other promoter to jog on. That was like, and I just Hayden just looked at me and I just went, "I'm sorry, I'm taking this over. No, we're not doing this anymore." Off you
Yeah,
pop.
it was a bit silly. Bit of a silly time.
Fully deserved by the sounds of it. You know what I mean? You just kind of like, yeah, you two obviously, well, you together, you know what you're doing, kind of thing. You've got somebody who's taking liabilities. Yeah, like I say, jog on, get out. You know, leave it to people who care about it as well. That's the thing. You know, I mean, like you said there, you've got people who are paying you money. You've built a loyalty with these people, kind of thing. You want to do right by them. So yeah, you do. You know, like you said, you've got to do the boring stuff, but the boring stuff is what is needed to make it a success. Yeah, that's crazy though. But then obviously, yeah, and you're building up momentum, and it's just you're taking it from there. And I saw recently you had Nathan Cruz at the school, kind of thing. So that's, you know, that in itself speaks volumes for the, you know, the quality of the school. You know what you guys are doing at training. You know, you had Wild Boar recently as well, but Nathan's the name that jumped out at me because I'm a massive mark for, you know, Nathan, kind of thing. So
A couple of times over the years, both on shows and coming in and doing some seminars for us. But again, like I'm a big believer in train as many places and with as many people as you can, you know, because a lot of what we do is opinion based. So I might have an opinion that isn't favorable to one person, and they might have the opposite opinion. It doesn't make anybody a bad worker unless they're dangerous. You know, it's just different flavors, isn't it? So, but we also understand that money's tight. I mean, we have 4 kids, and going back, we couldn't afford to travel different places. So, you know, I'd go to the same few places, but I couldn't go to every other training school. So it was a case of, right, let's see who we can bring in, and it should save the guys some money so they don't have to travel. So we can have in some former WWE guys. So, I mean, the first seminar we did, once we'd really established everything, was Too Cool.
Yeah.
You know, we brought in, well, it was still running under the other guy's banner. We brought in people like young Robbie X and Paul Malin and Styx, and obviously Dale Preston, and you know, loads of other people, Prince Amin. So loads of people from back then. And then once we kind of had the reins, it was like, right, okay, get as many people as we can, as often as we can, and try and just give different opinions, different ways of learning, different styles. You know, because it's what's best for them, I think.
Yeah, and you can only improve your skill set if you've got different influences. And I think this old mentality of you can't train anywhere else is just ridiculous.
Well, I mean, for years we've said during the summer, right, okay, WAW do a week long. So if I can organise a car review to go down there, I'll speak with WAW, and a lot of you go down there, you know, and learn from them as well. And we've had a really good relationship, like back and forth there, haven't we?
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Again, I think, you know, a lot of the people that I speak to that kind of have got their heads screwed on right, I've kind of echoed the same sentiment, kind of thing. You know, like trainers. If I speak to anybody who trains at, like, you know, your place or Future Shock, or obviously I speak to a lot of people, you know, at Pursuit. But they're all encouraged to go elsewhere as well. Just check out what other people are saying. Because like you sort of said, if you're just learning in one place, there's a good chance you're kind of going to become like not a carbon copy, but very similar to that one person. You need to pick up various different sort of styles and techniques and thoughts to make them your own.
I'm just going to point this out because I've got both my lads here. So, you know, when I keep telling you to learn from other people and not be a carbon copy of me, there you go.
And the thing is, if you're confident enough in your own skill and your coaching ability, you know that your students are going to come back. So, and that just shows that, like, the positive atmosphere that you create. If you're really worried about students going elsewhere and not coming back, then actually you've got to take a long, hard look at yourself as a coach and a promoter. So, like, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because you got to start thinking like, well, if I'm worried about them not coming back, why wouldn't they come back? And it's like, is it because I'm crap? Maybe. So, but obviously, again, you know, like I sort of said, you know, with the PPW, so I've seen like obviously Hardman Dan. I saw at Second Pursuit show. I know he's kind of in backwards and forwards between. I've seen Reece Rogan turn up there as well, kind of thing. But I just think it's, again, you guys know because you're a bit around from back where I'm kind of going to reference to sort of now. But it sort of seems I've been a fan for like well over 10 years, kind of thing. You know, Chris Travis, Martin Kirby, Joey Hayes, those guys kind of got me into it. But it all seemed very protective back in the day. You know, everybody was kind of like either in a clique or there was a lot more sort of politicking going on, kind of thing.
I think that still does exist.
It's still definitely there.
It's a bit more. It's not as bad. I know it's not gone, but I think it's a bit more positive now. You know, people seem a little bit more willing to elevate each other up.
Yeah, I think another thing that I kind of try and portray is that if wrestling's doing well. It's not about company A, company B, company C. We should all be pushing to make the industry better than what it's been in the past. You know, there's been some great times in the past, but there's also been some bad stuff. And you know, if we all work together to make people safer, to make people not just safer in the ring, but like as a whole, you know what I mean? Like mentally and physically fitter and all these other things that come into it, then, you know, it's better for everyone.
Yeah,
you know,
everybody should be able to...
From a fan to a trainee to a full-time pro wrestler, everyone should be sort of in that same mindset, I think.
And also promoters as well. There's so much vulnerability in wrestling, and trying to reduce that is only going to be more positive, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it is hard as a promoter, because it's always, there used to be a few years ago a very ugly then, very territorial thing. I don't think that'll ever disappear fully, but it's a lot easier now to speak with other promoters than it was a few years ago, definitely. Especially like as me being a female promoter as well, that was very difficult to sort of like make waves and prove my worth, as it were, within the industry.
Yeah, I'm kind of experiencing, because I work quite closely with Tidal, sort of, you know, at the minute kind of thing, and Taj running Tidal. She's kind of echoed that herself, you know, a few times, kind of thing. It just seems a bit more of an uphill battle sometimes when it shouldn't be, kind of thing. And but yeah, I just kind of think, obviously, you know, but speaking of, you know, Tidal, again, going on my experiences from my local promotions, kind of thing, is, you know, I'll walk up out of a Tidal show and JC's there flying in for True Grit. I've come out of a True Grit show and, you know, Taj has been there flying in for Tidal. You know, Jake's been hyping up Planet Wrestle at a True Grit show. It's everybody within this proximity seems to be on board and being like, yeah, like you sort of said, let's make it a success. You know, if your shows are successful, then my shows should be successful as well, because people who enjoy your shows will see my shows and be like, ah, cool, I'll go to that one as well. Or they'll see somebody on your show. If they're on my show, they're going to come to my show because they're a fan of that wrestler.
So one thing that she's done in the past, and I know it's pissed off a few people, but again, tough shit, right? But if someone works as a babyface in most promotions, she'll bring them in as a villain, and vice versa, because now your fans from promotion A are going to come here and see another side to that character. That character can show a different dynamic to another promoter, and it just, again, it gives people choices. It gives people opportunities, you know, sometimes. So, yeah, again, I can't take credit for it, but.
But I mean, again, though, as a British wrestling fan, that's always been something that's kind of made me chuckle. I think any long-term British fan will always be a case of like, we're so used to watching talent sort of be a face somewhere, or, you know, be a heel somewhere else kind of thing, and then we've always kind of got that split second when the match starts, when it's like,
what they're going to be
I'm booing, I'm kind of just following everybody else. They're booing, right, well, boo, boo, kind of thing. You never quite know sometimes. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, they're a heel here, well, boo. So yeah, that's always hard. Like, again, it can be because of the territories, though. Like I said, not territories in the old fashioned sense, but, you know, when I used to go to PCW back in the day, you know, like, if I see Rampage Brown at PCW, he's getting booed because he's from Yorkshire. I'm in Lancashire. You know, but if somebody from Lancashire comes over to Leeds, there's a good chance they're getting booed, even though there might be a face, you know, everywhere else. So I think that's part of the issue sometimes as well.
Can be, yeah.
I have a LinkedIn imp on my new set of gear, so. Yeah, that was.
So I mentioned some names earlier. I'll be amiss if I didn't mention good old Flex. Yeah, I think Flex is one of those guys who's been around and doesn't get the appreciation he should get.
Say this all the time.
He is so underrated.
I wouldn't say underrated, underutilized.
Underused, everything. I was never a wrestling fan. Okay, I was I was one of those ones who's like, it's just fake, right? It's just men chucking themselves round in baby oil and lycra. What is this shit? Like, come on. But then watching Hayden Becca, etc., and you see, and now running Fight Factory, you see the hard work and dedication that goes into it. So my opinion is like well and truly like turned on its head. But I first watched Flex wrestle. Oh my god. Wrestle against
Is it Madman Manson?
Madman Manson at Southside. And I laughed the whole way. He had me gripped. And now a lot of people tell you that I don't tend to watch wrestling matches. If I start to watch, that means you've got my attention. Otherwise, I'm not really all that interested, which is bad, I suppose. But you have to grasp my attention. And that match grasped my attention, and I loved it. And I've loved Flex ever since. And also, Matt is lovely. Like, he's just the most genuine, lovely, wonderful human. That he's just great to be around. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think, yeah, definitely Flex should be on more shows and more places.
Yeah.
I did, part of me kind of hopes, you know, it might, I don't know, again, I don't know personally if it's his choice or not. I kind of hope it is, but if it's not, and, you know, and he wants more bookings, then I'll shout it out. I think all promoters, you know, check out Flex. You know, there's a lot of shows out there with a Flex size hole on the card.
Yeah, there is.
And if people want to see his work, there's plenty of it on our YouTube site, both for over 18 and for family shows.
Yeah,
That's the one. He can do both. That's the thing as well, can't he? He's so versatile.
Yeah,
you know,
he is really versatile.
I've had several matches with him. We've done everything from full comedy matches to serious, like very snug matches. We've even done some hardcore matches. I don't think people really give him the credit for how versatile he is. And one thing he's turned to Becca and said, and to my brother who helped do the story writing, is that he now wants to concentrate on working with the new guys to elevate them. And it just shows like he's always been just such a humble guy who just wants to help.
That's amazing. You mentioned there the YouTube sort of stuff. After I mentioned before I hit record that I wanted to talk about this at some point, because you guys are absolutely smashing it, like social side, like say with the YouTube and stuff like that. You know, the presentation, the TV show. It was kind of amazing. I know it's probably, you know, time restraints or budget or having, you know, being able to do it kind of thing. But that to me is like, that's a wrestling 101. If I've got a promotion, I want to be doing stuff like that to get eyes on it, or, you know, get stories across, get personalities across. And, you know, you guys do that so well.
it's something that we've really tried to focus on, and it's something that I want to be more consistent with. But it is frustrating because I can't film anything, right? Hayden, as he keeps on saying, is an idiot. So we do rely on a lot of outside sources and things like that. So trying to be regular with our Fight Factory Weekly, that is something that I'm really aiming for. I've just spoken to our website designer actually to see whether or not we can bring our video on demand within our own website, and also to upgrade it to our merchandise so I can sell it from my website as well. But it's finding investment, because at the end of the day we are a small family-run business. So it's trying to keep that going, and sometimes it is banging on.
And also understanding trends on social media as well. Like I'll post something, I don't really think about it. I'll quite happily spit people out and stuff, and I don't think about the knock-on effect or what time we post things that gets people in. And I went on a course recently to try and understand a little bit, because the weekly show, I press record on the camera and that's about all I do. She hosts it, or some of the trainees or some of the wrestlers host it, and take it in turns again to give them promo practice. And then we send it away to be done, and then it's put out, and then we do all this script thing and timing for it to go out and all that sort of stuff. But there's certain trends you need to follow with it to make it, I don't know what's the word, get to people. I don't know.
To increase your reach.
Yeah, so some weeks we're getting 10,000 views a week, and some weeks we're getting 3,000. And it's how do we keep the consistency of the high one? What changed between last week and this week? I'm sure there's a way of looking at a little graph somewhere that'll tell you, but
that's far too complicated.
Put it out and hopefully people watch it, kind of thing. But again, that's a rabbit hole you could go down. And Becca, I know you do all the paperwork and all that kind of side of stuff, but that is something that would just seriously, you could go down there. Hey, you might not see it for 3 days because it's just a rabbit hole of just way too much information. It's way too complicated.
I've got 2 teenage sons sat right here, who one of them, the youngest one, said, "Dad, you write things like an old man, so I'm going to take over your TikTok." And he did it for about 2 months, and then he just let it slide. He's sitting here with a big smile on his face, he just let it slide. So it's getting these younger ones to go, okay, if this business lasts, this is ours to take over in years to come. So they should look into it and go, right, okay, let's follow these trends and the YouTube short things that they have to teach me about. It's all little things that I would never know about.
I got to agree with that. I think it's definitely, I try and do what I do on socials. I've got a reputation of being good on socials just because of the way that I talk to people. I don't hashtag, I don't follow trends or anything like that. I just throw that much stuff out. People like it, they like it. I talk to people nicely. But it's definitely, that's how I approach it. I can't approach it smart. I just kind of approach it naively and just hope for the best. It's if you got young ones that are capable, that would be my shout. I would be like, get them on it. I'm like,
no, a lot of the time, I do wing it quite a bit, to be fair, and usually it works out okay. So I mean, I've been winging it for 11 years and we're still here, so
that's it. So keep doing it, what I mean? Just but I think as well, though, it helps, say, because you've been around, you've built up that audience, you've built up that fan base, you've kind of got that loyalty. You can get stuff out. I know how tricky it is. I know, again, local sort of experiences. Blackheart Wrestling, I know, were putting out a weekly show on YouTube. They were it's a 20-25 minute show every week, and they had to sort of stop a couple of weeks ago because they were just the amount of time it took to edit it, the cost of it, it just wasn't, unless you're getting hundreds of thousands or millions of views on YouTube, you're not making any money from it. It's an expense, that can just end up just not being worth it. So if you're getting the views and you're able to still kind of do it, you're obviously doing something right.
Fine.
Yeah.
I just know how hard it is, kind of thing. I know how easy it is as well to get focused on numbers and insights and analytics of stuff and looking at key moments. And
I mean, the main thing is, like, I don't look at it too in depth because it just confuses me. I can't read too well, so there's no point in me trying to go in there and look at everything in detail. You know, I try and look at how many views we have a week, and my main focus on it is if a show goes out every week and you've got 2 wrestlers in there in a singles match, or you've got 4 in a tag match, or whatever match we put out there, my main thing is, like, this is essentially a free promo for them to put out there. So they, you know, if they're not getting the work, they can go to a promoter, hey, here's some recent footage, you know. And yes, we're trying to tell a story in some ways to keep our audience in the loop if they've missed the show. But it's also like, you know, here they can send this out to other people and say, look, we struggle to give them all the matches, all the shows straight away, but here's a little something we can give them back because they can then post it out. You know what I mean? So it's kind of that keeping everyone happy while not drowning again. You know, sink or swim, and we don't want to sink. So
Yeah, we don't
just
wanna
tread water on that one.
It's definitely a labour of love.
I just realised there's water and I told you about water.
Yes, there is a 2 in there.
Well, that's the perfect description. Like so I said, you're giving exposure to people when they wouldn't have it previously, kind of thing. Like I said, it's giving them, you're helping build the CV in video form. So like I said, they can show people, or they get that experience of looking into a camera and having to deliver a sentence, or, you know, just saying something and it meaning something. Because again, British wrestling now, I don't know what, 10 years ago, promos probably weren't a major thing. You know, storylines were there, but because YouTube wasn't a massive thing, or on-demands weren't a massive thing, you know, people weren't cutting promos really. I don't remember seeing anybody cut a promo. They might have said something in the ring for a couple of minutes between a match, and that was it. Obviously now, everybody's cutting promos, or everybody's trying to cut promos, or everybody's trying to get better at cutting promos because they know it's important.
Yeah.
It's a very up and down thing. I think, again, it's a trend thing, isn't it? You'll notice there's some guys putting out some really good promos, and then everyone wants to sort of find that similar style, or that quick route to follows on Instagram or whatever it may be. But if everyone starts doing that, it elevates again the business, which then elevates the performers, which then elevates the promoter, which, you know, it's a full circle thing again.
A prime example, I can see that you've just announced, I think a couple of days ago, Joey Slade is back at Fight Factory. And he's someone who I know is very good. You put a camera at Joey and, you know, he'll get a point across. He can tell a story. It's like that he's been doing it since he was 10, probably obviously helps. But yeah, he's a prime example of a modern day promo.
Yeah, he's got a very natural ability there in front of the camera as well. And I remember watching him when he first started, when he was that young.
We're old.
I know.
Sorry.
Shut up. It hurts my soul. But just to see how he's developed as well is just brilliant. And I can always say to him, look, Hadley, I need a promo. And he even did me one when he was on holiday in Turkey, I think it was, wherever he was. And it was brilliant. He just knocked it out the park. He's like, is this all right? I'm like, perfect, thanks very much. So he's definitely somebody that, as a promoter, I want on my shows, because he thinks about social media presence. He thinks about, like, where the camera is when he's wrestling, and always, like, acts to it. His character, he knows it so well that
I wouldn't say he acts to it. I think he reacts to it. And I think
No,
there's a
that's what I
massive
mean.
difference between
Yeah,
acting and reacting.
yeah. But because he knows his character so well, he just is Joey Slade. And that, you know, as soon as he walks through that curtain, it's on. And that's what you need as a promoter.
Yeah, I can only imagine working with people like that just makes your life easier, because you can kind of, you're not having to second guess everything. You can tell them what you want. You don't even have to go into great detail, I presume. You can just be like, look, this. You know, there you go. Off you go. Off you trot. Do you think?
In a lot of my pre-show meetings, I literally say to them, this is who's over. Any, like, minor specifics, but then I always say to them, you lot know what you're doing, off the top. That's it. I don't.
I think a good thing with the people we bring in is they always, or 99% of the time, they come in with ideas.
Yeah.
And I say in the gym all the time to people, look, if you don't think you're in the position you think you should be in, come with ideas to Becca and Kieran, because it makes their life easier. If you go, right, okay, I've got this story idea, will it fit in now? If not, will it fit in 6 months' time? And they've now got something they can potentially do, which you've done half the work for them, and you have to then take care of this idea because it's your idea. If it fails, it's yours, you know. So whereas I think sometimes things are forced upon you, you know, you're going to do your best with it, but it's not always going to be what the other person envisions. God, so yeah, like I think people like what have been mentioned all the way through this. I think every single person who's been mentioned is quite happy to come and say, hey, I've got this idea.
Yeah.
And it makes her life easier. So,
Yeah,
and like I say, my brother's life easier. So
Yeah, I mean, well, talking about that kind of side of things. I mean, yeah. So you know, if they're coming at you with these ideas, you know, like so I said, it takes some of the pressure off of you, lightens your load a little bit. How far forward do you kind of think about stuff? You know, I know some people, you know, have got like the next 12 months planned out, barring injuries and things like that, or is it more of a collective? You kind of sit down and you discuss it every few shows.
It is more sort of like every few shows. We do try and sort of like work 6 months, but everything that we do leads up to Bodyslams to Cancer every year. So that's like our WrestleMania. That's what we do. But obviously, when you do have injuries, you've got to be able to adjust things. But also, I've been known halfway through a match to change the ending depending on how the audience is reacting, which either makes somebody really, really happy or pisses them off. But either way, you know, it is what it is. I want my audience to be happy because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are buying the tickets and they're coming back. So Bodyslams to Cancer, Kieran and I finalised the match card tonight and it's 10 days away. So it was basically looking at who've we got, who's going to be in the Rumble, who has been working hard enough in the training school, what storylines do we kind of need to finish up before we move on into the next lot. And just with Bodyslams, because a lot of the people that come in for that one show, a good 60% of them aren't wrestling fans. They're there because they want to help raise money for charity. You've got to have a story for the night, because if you don't have a story for the night, you're not going to encapsulate what you do. You're not going to keep them invested. And with that story for the night, it has got to relate to everything else that's been leading up to it, but it's also got to be interesting enough to try and get those 60%, some of them, coming back. Because there's a lot of closet wrestling fans out there that are like, oh no, don't like wrestling. Like, don't like
yeah, it
that.
happens in the gym all the time.
Like, can't do that.
People will say, oh, it's all that fake stuff. Then they reel off wrestler after wrestler. Like, not being funny, but if you weren't a fan, you wouldn't know that guy.
No, exactly. So it's just, it's about grasping that and thinking about what's going to go ahead into the next year. So, for example, the D Mantle Memorial Trophy Rumble, the winner of the trophy gets to cash that trophy in on any title in the next year, and they have to cash it in by the end of the following Bodyslams. Okay, so I already know who is taking the trophy. No spoilers. And it's based on what they've done across this last year, how well they've progressed, what they've brought to the table, and what they can bring in 2025. So there is a lot of thought that goes into it. And coming from somebody who like never watched wrestling, I know my product and I know what my fans want. So I know Fight Factory. So that's what I do. I don't watch any other really.
Strife, he just falls asleep. It's too late for it. He's old,
Too
remember?
late. I'm busy. I'm a busy lady.
To be fair, you sound like your days are full of stuff anyway. I'd be zonked out by. I'm surprised you're still awake at this time. I think I'd have been passed out by about 8 o'clock. If I was doing what you do.
So far. So yeah, I'm highly caffeinated. But I work full time as well as doing this, so it's yeah, good fun.
Wow, that's even more impressive. But
no, it's stupid.
I say impressive. We'll put it in the middle. But I love that, like you sort of said, based on the audience, you can kind of call, you can change something, because you can kind of, that's the thing as well, again, as being a fan, I kind of sometimes know what I'm meant to be kind of cheering for, but sometimes it just doesn't feel right, and I'll be damned if I am cheering for it, kind of thing. But you can never know when that's going to happen. And as a promoter, to be able to be like, right, okay, just being able to back it up, putting your foot down and be like, right, it's not working. I'm not going to force it. I'm not going to make the fans react how I want them to react in this way. We'll change it because of how they're reacting. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's very risky, really risky. But what's life without a little bit of risk, eh?
Oh, again, I'll say 11 years later, you're obviously doing something right. So, but yeah, I've heard so many times as well, like, the Bodyslams Council is like, it's your WrestleMania, you kind of build up to it, so not only is it a big show because of the charity side of it, the great cause, but obviously all the fans that have been invested for the entire year, they get that satisfaction, they get that payoff of just things, hopefully end the way they want them, they want them to end, kind of thing, and they're invested.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's that starting platform for a story as well. Like we've had many things that have started through Bodyslams to Cancer. And again, we tell the new guys who are just in there for a Rumble spot to get the experience of the audience, you can plant a seed, whether it happens next week, next month, next year, you've got a seed that's been planted, So keep giving ideas, keep planting seeds wherever you can. It's something, it doesn't have to be the end of the season, so to speak. It can be the beginning of the season. So yeah,
that's it. I mean, just the smallest thing. Sometimes, the audience can latch on to, a wrestler, just because of after 5 seconds, if they do something, a mannerism, just a simple move, or just that chemistry. So yeah, a spot in the Rumble is priceless. If you're even if you're only out there for like 2 minutes or 3 minutes, like say as a fan, I've seen a wrestler for like 5 seconds and be like, oh crap, there's something about this person that just pops. I'm now invested. I'm interested in this person. YouTube, Google later. Okay, right, cool. They worked here. They worked there. Or, just you can never underestimate how important it is just to have that time in front of the fans, even if it's just a couple of minutes.
The amount of CVs and stuff that we get sent, like with YouTube videos and this, that, and the other, is unreal. And I always reply to every single one of them. 80% of the time, I'm sorry, our roster's full at the minute, because it is, because I prioritise our homegrown talent and the lads that we've already got. But on occasion, I say, actually, we've got the Bodyslams to Cancer Rumble coming up. Come and show me. And if you can catch my attention, then actually you may well then develop yourself from there. Because as I say, I don't tend to watch wrestling. You've got to grasp my attention. And if you can, in the Rumble, where sometimes, I mean, we've had up to 40 people in that Rumble before. So, and that's usually because I've booked people and forgotten them. They've turned up on the day and I've gone, oh shit.
It's not an official thing where she's done it through emails or messages or something.
No.
It's just in passing at a show, and then they've gone, and then she's forgotten about it.
Or the odd email, to be fair. But it's when they keep turning up and I'm like, oh no. Oh well, right, here we go. But if you can catch my attention from that, and I can see you wrestle, and I can see how the audience is reacting to you, that's the best way. Because my audience is what we do this for. So if you can impress my audience, I'm going to bring you back.
Yeah. That's it. I'm not going to name names or anything like that. But I saw somebody at the start of the year, when they were doing a rumble. I was at a show. They were doing a rumble, and I saw somebody come out from the curtains. They came out the curtains. The music hit, and everybody just stopped. The fans, I talked to the promoter afterwards, and they're saying the people who worked the merch table, they stopped selling, and they just it was the airport effect. When you can't help but double look. Somebody's just stopped and everybody's double taking them, kind of thing. Like, whoa, this person just stepped out of this rumble, and everybody just stopped. Like, oh, this guy, and that was what 5 seconds. That person just walked through a curtain, and made an impression. That's how it. That's you can take that moment and run with it, kind of thing.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think people do undervalue the rumble spot. They're like, there's a few, and even with some of my students in the past, so it's just a rumble spot. And I'm like, but it's the most important rumble spot of the year. So if it's just a rumble spot, you're not getting one. See you later.
There's the door. Off on it.
Yeah. So
there's always got to be somebody else who appreciates it. So if you don't want it, like you said,
Yeah.
get on. That's crazy to me. That is. I just think anybody who's would just be like, yeah, cool. They see it as a challenge. You'd be like, yeah, okay, I'm in the rumble again. Like, not to repeat myself, sorry, but I've got like 2 or 3 minutes. I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna show them all what I can do. They're gonna love me. They're gonna bring me back. Of course they are. I'm great. That's got to be the mentality.
Yeah.
I say to the new guys all the time, like, this is your opportunity to go in there with someone who you're not going to be in a program with. You're not going to be in a the opportunity to be in there with that person, and to do something. And again, fantasy. If the more experienced guy goes, well, this kid is really good. Now there's an opportunity opened up for them. And I don't know. Some people just don't see it. Some people really do grasp it with both hands, don't they? But there's the odd one or two that they want to be the main event, and they've done 2 sessions.
It's also because they're in there with some of the more experienced guys. It's a perfect opportunity for me to get feedback from them as well. So it is. I think they should always see it as a learning opportunity, because it is. You never stop learning in any business, especially in wrestling.
Yes, I've heard that many times. Literally, as soon as you stop learning, it's because you just don't care anymore, or something like that. Kind of, if you care about it, if you've got that passion, there's always something to learn. Whether you've been in the business for 20 years, and it's been open to learn from somebody who's been in the business for a year, because they might have just done something to be like, oh shit, I didn't know that was possible, and it don't matter. Everybody.
You can also learn from the newer people as well.
Yeah,
I think, like if you're a veteran, as it were, and you can't learn something from the guy that you are teaching or working with that's maybe only been in the business a couple of months, where's that?
I learned what Discord was the other day from one of the new ones.
Yeah, you still can't use it, can you? No. It's I just learning is multifactorial, and it's so important. So like our youngest lad now has said he wants to come on more ring highs with us, just so he gets more shows to go to that he can watch, and he can pick up ideas and whatnot. So and then he can also see how other companies work, and that's important, to see how other people work. So
it's like the school thing, isn't it? You guys operate a show in a certain way, or you train in a certain way. Other promoters are going to run their shows in a certain way.
Yeah.
And if you're grown up in the business, if you're kind of like looking to obviously kind of do this in 10, 20 years time, it's cool to get inspiration from other places as well. It's cool to sort of see how you guys do it. But I remember Billy Bob doing it this way. That was kind of cool. I might incorporate that as well, kind of thing. But yeah, like you sort of said there, going to shows with you with the ring hiring and stuff. I was going to mention that with the Rumble. I keep hearing over and over just the importance of networking in wrestling. You know, that's what a rumble spot is. It's a chance to network. That's what, you know, in coming on ring jobs with you will be. That's networking.
Yeah, it is.
I think the thing that it was last year during the summer camp with the youngest lad. So his older sister and his older brother had already started wrestling, and he was coming along to referee, and Hardman Dan was in the van, and he was just speaking about like growing up in wrestling compared to him coming into wrestling. And I can't remember the exact conversation, but my son was talking about how Cody had sent him a video message when we were doing some shows with Cody. And Hardman Dan turned around and went, are you listening to yourself? Like, this is not normal. Where you've got Nick Aldis sleeping at your house, and you've got Bram sleeping at your house, and you've got Cody sending you messages, and Paige sending your sister messages. Like, it's not normal for most people, like. And I think the moment he heard that, he was like, I'm in a really lucky position where I can learn a lot more than other people really quickly. And then this year he's gone, right, I've done a full year of repping. I've learned a lot in there from some really good referees and been in there with some really good wrestlers. So now I want to start training properly. So he's with us now, like I say, because he's been at the training session today. And yeah, it's that networking thing. You know, he's going to come along and he's like, well, I can watch the referees, but I can watch the wrestlers as well. And, you know, I already know how to build the ring pretty much, apart from one time where he broke his finger. So like he's starting to learn, like our oldest lad, he's starting to learn other aspects of the business from where he thought he was going to start. Like Thomas just wanted to do lights and sounds at first. He ran a full show for us at like 10, 11 years old. He ran all the lights and sounds for us at one event. But then he eventually came out and said, I want to wrestle. Brilliant. There's another one in the wrestling circle.
Heart failure, like all the time. It literally watching the kids do stupid shit. And I'm like, oh, don't like it. It's hard to watch sometimes. So, but that's just the mum in me, I think. Whereas Hayden's like, yeah, do it again. And I'm like, no, don't do it again. Stop it.
I'm not even doing what you guys do, but of course I've got a 6-year-old. You know, I'm encouraging him to drop elbows off the windowsill onto the settee and stuff like that. I'm there filming him doing it in slow motion, like that's amazing. You know, doing a side by side with a Randy Savage elbow and merging them all. My wife just walks in. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, no, we're just watching TV. I'm not doing anything. So yeah, a protective mum and a crazy dad. I think it's pretty much the norm.
Fine balance, to be fair. Yeah. Yeah.
But well, talking about refereeing and stuff like that, I would be amiss if I didn't take an opportunity just to show some love to Danny Marks, because I said I would. And he messaged me saying like they better say nice things about me. I'm sure they will. You know, if they don't, I will.
There's one thing you've got heated in for, isn't there?
Yeah. So a few weeks, months back, when it was in England,
game,
so
the show
I was really kind to ensure that the lads were able to watch the England game on the big screen. Right, I was like, if you get all of the show set up done, we'll watch the football, then we can do the show. And I was on a diet at the time, and Danny Marks walked in with 2 big boxes of donuts, of which I could not eat them, and promptly put them on the ring next to me, and I'm like, well, you can get the fuck. And I did bring you a coffee, and I'm like, but I can't eat the donuts. And this is a major thing for me. So I hated him for all of about 5 minutes, and then I forgave him because he's a lovely human. So, but yeah.
Him and Scott Bell have when our youngest lad said he wanted to referee, they literally both just grabbed hold of him and took him under their wing. And I think he'd safely say he learned a lot from them, both about refereeing, positioning, and the wrestling side of it. So
yeah.
That's amazing. I don't think there's too, you know, I'm quite lucky, you know, with the rest of, again, local kind of thing. You know, I get to see Scott quite a lot, Lee Thomas, Sandy Beechers. Obviously I've spoken to Danny. I had Danny on the show a few weeks ago, and just, yeah, you know, when you're just talking to somebody, you're just like, oh, I like you. You're just a nice human being. Yeah, that was Danny. You know, I just couldn't imagine. Just those 5 minutes where you were mad at him, I could just imagine him being like, oh, sad puppy dog eyes, like.
Yeah,
puppy dog eyes. It's Mole Man, isn't it? From Danger Mouse.
Yeah, it's the nicest possible way.
You mentioned the ring hire thing. I saw on your socials. It's a really weird coincidence because my eldest recently moved to Hinckley. So I was telling him to check out wrestling, in the area. Jason Joshua, speaking to him previously, he'd mentioned, wrestling in Hinckley. I was like, oh, cool, go check it out. And then, I clocked on the socials. Obviously, you guys provided the cage.
Yeah.
The last match they did. Oh,
Yeah,
last
we did.
sorry.
Yeah, that was it. It was a nice hire, actually. Quite easy to do. It's good. So I like it when I can just take my equipment and there's people there that are willing to help, willing to listen, and it gets built, and then I don't have to do anything like doing the same.
I like it about it. There's a Nando's nearby. And
This is true. And there was a Nando's
There was, yeah,
nearby,
so it was a
so
good
we
show.
were okay.
You
Yeah.
can show because there's Nando's within 10 minutes drive.
And this is where I'm going to off topic a little bit, but why Nando's, man? It's not
Don't
cheap.
just
Oh,
say it's
don't,
just chicken.
we can fall out.
Dude.
It's part of my rider now. I put it in there. Like if I'm traveling anywhere, there needs to be a Nando's in Deliveroo.
It's just chicken that I don't have to cook. Right? So
Right.
if it means that he's getting fed and I don't have to be involved in it, other than he can't order his own food because he's a moron, so I have to do it for him. He literally sits there and goes, "What's my order again?" I'm like, "You eat it, come on."
It's the same every time as well.
Yeah, it is. So that's why. Makes my life easier.
Oh, well, I'll retract the besmirchment of Nando's then, but we'll let that go. We'll appreciate a cheeky Nando's. But yeah, so obviously, I was telling there just the thing is, I need to. That's one thing I've never done. I've never actually seen a cage match in person as a wrestling fan. That's still like one thing I've never ticked off on my list. So I just like.
When's the first show of the year? February
1st, Steel Cage Showdown 3.
So we
Come along.
can sling you some tickets for that if
Yeah.
you want.
Come as our guest.
I would love to be there. I will have to see. I don't drive. That's the only downside. I'm very reliant on my other half.
Somebody who can bring you.
Well, I'll put it out here. If anybody can, let me know in the comments, please.
Yeah.
I would love to. I don't get to half the amount of shows I would love to get to. I kind of like, I think I overcompensate. That's why I hype up shows all over the place because I'd love to be there and I want to buy a ticket. I want to support it, but I can't. So I kind of try and just show love in any way that I can. So, but that is appreciated. Thank you so much, and I will try because I need to tick that box. I need to see a cage match in person. I just need to.
Worst case, the local promoters, just tell them to give us a ring and we can bring the cage down. I'll give her a ring because I don't even know what it's
I have a love-hate relationship with that cage.
Is it that? I can't imagine how it must just be awful trying to.
It is. I don't like heights, and I have to scale it to do the top bolts. It's like I've done leg day afterwards because I have to balance, and especially if I start loosening the ropes on the ring before I've finished, that is problematic. Because I rely on the top rope to like potter along and do the bolts and stuff. But there's a lot that goes into that as well, like a lot of health and safety thing, and being like competent in putting it up. And I'm a stickler for it to make sure that it's all done properly. So yeah.
Oh, it's got to be. Yeah, you got to make sure it's 100%. You can't risk sort of like somebody being thrown against the cage and just falling through it kind of thing.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, ours is really solid. So, to the point where like I've worked with NGW on their cage show, and Rich brought me in basically to build his cage.
nice.
So I'd taken our ring, we do a lot of hires for them, and he was like, "So our cage then, can you build it?" Yeah, why not? So yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. We had a few runs before the event just to make sure that the guys were confident with scaling it and how it was, and it was Nathan Cruz and Miles Hayden, not the right word. I'm so rubbish at names.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. That we're doing it, and like it moves, and I was like, I promise you, Nathan, it's secure, it's fine, you're all right. They're like, okay, that's good enough for me. So
That's amazing. Again, speaks volumes. NGW, not a small company, been around for a long time, freaking huge, pulling in high numbers. And then, they're turning around to you and be like, yeah, sort us out. You're like, oh yeah, cool. There we go. So, hopefully, you guys know this and you appreciate this. You kind of acknowledge how big that is, kind of thing. And if you aren't, then I'll say it. You've got companies like that coming to you. Yeah, again, you're doing everything right. So
I think one of the nicest things is when we go to shows and the wrestlers turn up and they go, so relieved to see your ring van outside.
Especially when it's the Americans who you're like, we met before.
Yeah. And it's there. So I am proud of the reputation that we've developed because it's taken a lot of hard work to do that. So.
And that's what this business, again, I'm speaking from this side of the table, but a reputation is everything.
Yeah, it is.
So,
and it can be ruined in one fell swoop as well. So
it's normally by me.
Yeah, usually by him.
Right, just clock the time. I said I'd keep you for about an hour, which I have gone over, so apologies, but I've just totally lost track of time. So I will not, I know we've just been talking about how crazy busy you are with this, that and the other and everything, so I won't keep you too much longer. I just want to say, genuinely thank you so much, for just sitting down and talking, with me, talking wrestling, just all the good stuff. So, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks
for having us. It's nice to be able to sit down and showcase Fight Factory and see some appreciation. It's lovely. But we wouldn't be Fight Factory without all of the wrestlers that grace our mat, without all the students that walk through our door, without anybody who helps us on the merch desk, or just everybody who works behind the scenes. I am busy. And I couldn't do this without everybody that works with me. It is a big family, and I'm just so appreciative of everybody who does take the time to work with us. So
it's a good team. You have a great team around you, kind of thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So good one.
Do you want to shout out where people can find you on the socials so they can keep an eye out for future shows?
You want to do it?
I just always say the website because I think everything's linked through that.
Yeah, it is.
I think.
Basically.
So it's fightfactorywrestling.com, and I'm sure that's got links to YouTube and Facebook and TikTok and everything else.
But if it's Facebook, it's /FF Wrestling. And yeah.
YouTube, Fight Factory Wrestling UK, I think.
Yeah, and if you want to send us an email, it's linkswrestling@gmail.com, and it'll be me that answers it, not him.
I had to take the email off my phone because I think I upset someone who sold merchandise to us once.
Yeah, you did.
We'll go with the nicer touch. Let Becky deal with that side of things, yeah.
Unless you annoy me, then.
That's it, yeah. Becca's not being nice. That's just step back. You've lost the battle. Step away. I'll put a link in for the website in the episode description as well. So obviously, you watch this far. If you want to just click in the description, the website's there. Go check it out. See everything that they're doing. Obviously, we'll tag me in on the socials as well. It'll be my boy Ash on Instagram. He runs Work the Left Side for me on Insta because I don't really get Instagram all that much. It's just all photos, which is great, but yeah, I suck at that side of things. I work the Twitter, so we'll also tag you in on there. If you're not following Fight Factory, please do so. Keep an eye out. If you're in the area, go to a show some support, buy a ticket, buy some merch, especially Bodyslams, to cancer. Get yourself there and give it a watch. I presume, there will be a site as well to donate if they can't make it to the show.
Well, I've been
just
put in
donations.
Things that people can just donate via PayPal if they want to do a donation or anything like that.
We tend to stay away from the just giving and stuff because they take a massive cut. So we just say donate their PayPal, but it's just buying the merch, the t-shirts and the baseball caps and stuff because that raises some money for it. So. And
we've put a video out on YouTube and TikTok, I believe it is, where it's advertising the show and kind of why we're doing it. So if people want to give that a watch, that'd be ace.
Cool. Obviously, keep your eyes on ours as well. I'll try and post stuff as much as possible when I'm not running around after a 6-year-old or playing Mario on the Switch. Thank you for watching. And we'll remember, always work the left side. Goodbye.